So this is then what Prestianni had to say in response to those allegations. I want to clarify that at no time did I direct racist insults at the player Vinicius Junior, who unfortunately misinterpreted what he thought he heard. I've never been racist to anyone, and I regret the threats I received from Real Madrid players. We heard from Infantino today. Here comes a lot of words. I was shocked and saddened to see the incident of alleged racism towards Vinicius Junior in the UEFA Champions League match between Benfica and Real Madrid. There is absolutely no room for racism in our sport and in society. We need all the relevant stakeholders to take action and hold those responsible to account. At FIFA, through the Global Stand Against Racism and the Players' Voice panel, we are committed to ensuring that players, officials and fans are respected and protected, and that appropriate action is taken when incidents occur. He continues, I commend referee Francois Leclerc for activating the anti-racism protocol by using the arm gesture to stop the game and address the situation. FIFA and football shows full solidarity to victims of racism and any form of discrimination. I will always continue to reiterate no to racism, no to any form of discrimination. Shaka Hislop is with us. Sid, I just want to start with you and just get the Spanish point of view from what happened 24 hours ago. What has the post-mortem, if you like, been like?
Well, the focus really has been on how bad this was, on the significance of Real Madrid being very close to walking away, the discussions that took place about the possibility of them refusing to play entirely. And of course, Arbeloa post-game said that he'd said to Vinicius, if you want to do this, we will back you. Listening to Tchouaméni, listening to Kylian Mbappé, it's clear that there's a point at which they are thinking about it and then a point at which it changes, but it's not entirely clear what changes that. And I think as you know, the gravity of this, the nature of this, the fact that this is such a high-profile player at Real Madrid has meant this has been absolutely front and centre in Spain across today, and there is a desire now for the investigation to discover, if indeed the racist abuse can be discovered, to discover that and then to act.
Shaka, if you're Infantino, what do you do? How do you discipline these players? How do you go about trying to take the game forward?
Well, Infantino mentioned two panels in a rather lengthy statement. No, I'm not sure which would have kind of jurisdiction or priority in this circumstance. But you hand all the evidence over to one of those two panels to do their investigations, their interviews, and players from both sides, and you make an announcement from there. You come to a conclusion from there, and you act or don't, as the case may be. But for too often we've seen this from Infantino in the past. We've seen this from football administrators in the past. Wordy statements, very heavy on, we are serious about this, but then it becomes very light on action. And now, on the one hand, I want to sympathize because it's difficult to prove racism as it occurs, and kind of echoing some of the sentiments that Ali expressed on the show yesterday. Saying in this circumstance, you have no smoking gun. Prestianni covered his mouth for reasons that I guess if he's interviewed, he will answer for. To his statement, he says he was misinterpreted or misunderstood, but he offers nothing as to what he said to be misunderstood. So from here going forward, what I firmly believe is that investigation has got to revolve around those moments. And while, again, to Ali's statements yesterday, we have no smoking gun, the fingerprints of racism are all over this. So I'm not sure that you necessarily need to see Prestianni's mouth. Apart from which, and again, was discussed yesterday, why cover your mouth in that circumstance? If it's, as Jose Mourinho said to Vinicius Junior on the sidelines, words along the lines of, don't celebrate like that, it upsets us, whatever it is, then you go and you say that in his ear, as Jose Mourinho did, man to man. That's fine. Players understand that. Players respect that. You can have a conversation. You saw Kylian Mbappé come over to join that conversation. But if, as you do, as Prestianni does, stand 4 or 5 feet away, have a conversation and cover your mouth to say something further, then I'm sorry. And my apologies if this is a little juvenile, if it quacks like a duck, waddles like a duck and looks like a duck, you have a hell of a job disproving that it's not a duck. And that's what we have here. This has all the hallmarks, all the fingerprints of it being racist abuse from Prestianni. That weak statement from him, I'm sorry, does not absolve him. Not only was it weak, how does Prestianni then make himself the victim in this? These are the things that infuriate black players, players who've been calling for firm action around this. And Infantino and FIFA and whichever panel they decide to put behind this need to take action. Otherwise, players will be forced to take that action in their own hands.
The hypocrisy of this from Jose Mourinho, of course, who's got some of those famous celebrations that we've seen over the last 15 years on the touchline. He's not ignored in this. But I think, Shaka, what's more important to deal with is the fact that there seems to be some blaming on Vinicius Junior.
Which continues to happen and is as ridiculous now as it ever was. Now, there's a couple of things about this from Jose Mourinho that has me a little conflicted. Now, Jose Mourinho has coached all over the world, coached players from all four corners of the planet, and is liked and respected from all those players, regardless of their race. And I'm sure many, if not all of those black players are now kind of embarrassed by Jose Mourinho's comments. Now, Vinicius Junior, correctly, if I'm wrong in saying, did not leave the park, did not gesture towards the fans, as I did Jose Mourinho during his career, whether you like it or not, as I did when Adebayor did that knee slide, playing for Manchester City, whether you liked it or not, or even more recently, David Moyes and his celebration. To somehow use that as an excuse. And Jose Mourinho is right in the first thing he said, that Prestianni's comments and Vinicius Junior's celebrations are two completely separate things and should remain as much. But by somehow integrating the two, you're making it a conversation. You're making it a debate as to whether Prestianni was right or he's wrong. No, there's no debate to this. Prestianni was wrong. And that is what needs to be addressed. If you have an exception with what Vinicius Junior did in the celebration, then he should be shown a yellow card. And he was. That is where it's ended. Anything following up from that is about Prestianni and completely separate. Please don't try to conflate the two, Jose Mourinho. You know better than most in this game about how it works. And I get you're trying to defend your player, your club, and everything that goes along with it. But right is right, wrong is wrong. And when you start to blur the lines in between the two, even in defending your club, you lose all authority, all moral authority in commenting on this. And this is as disappointing as I've ever seen or heard from Jose Mourinho.
And Sid, this is a narrative, of course, which has followed Vinicius Junior around La Liga grounds. Yeah,
and I think just to pick up on what Shaq said, I think there isn't a debate, and that's the absurd thing about this. And let's paint a hypothetical situation. Let's assume that Vinicius Junior, after scoring that goal, did the worst celebration we have ever seen. Let's assume he did something really grotesque. Let's assume he did something really offensive. Let's assume he did something really provocative. None of that would have justified him being racially abused. It's just, as Shaq rightly says, it's just a different thing. Now, the two things get conflated, but there can be a difference, and there is a difference, and it's so important that this gets seen between, you can dislike Vinicius. You can not like the way he behaves. You can not like the way he celebrates in goal. You can whistle him. You can chant about him not winning the Ballon d'Or. You cannot racially abuse him. There is no justification for that. If you think that is a legitimate weapon to have a go at a player, to put off a player, to go back at a player who you think has behaved badly, then you are wrong. Then you are a racist. And it's as simple as that, really. And it was so disappointing to hear that as an explanation. It can be part of your discourse if you're talking about a normal reaction to a celebration. It cannot be part of your discourse if you're talking about a player who's been racially abused.
Sid and Shaka, thank you very much. Shaka referred to yesterday's show, of course, where we heard from Ali and Stevie and Frank on the subject. If you haven't seen it, be sure to check that out over on our YouTube channel.